Hello all. Good morning. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Before we start, I would like to confirm if you are able to view the presentation as well as listen to the audio without any issue. I request all the participants to confirm if you are not experiencing any kind of audio or video issues by typing yes in the chat panel. We will wait for a few confirmations before we start today's webinar. Thank you for the confirmations. Once again, thank you all for joining today's session. Before we start, I would like to give you a brief introduction of who we are and what this product training series is all about. Hi, my name is Vikram, and I will be joining you on this session today. Along with me, I have a couple of panelists. In case you have any queries during this webinar, please feel free to raise it through the chat panel, and we will be eagerly getting back to you with answers. Today is the first of the 4-part training series. Today, we are going to be talking about network discovery and classification. In the second session that happens on April 14th, we'll be talking about network monitoring server performance. And on 21st April, we will talk about how to monitor your network performance. And we'll also talk about maps, which is a powerful network visualization feature. And finally, we'll wrap up this 4-part training series on April 28th after discussing fault management and IT automation. All these 4-part training series happens in 2 different sessions, EDT and GMT. You can join whichever time that suits you. And in case you're not able to make it to either of these sessions, no issues, we've got you covered. We'll send you a copy of the training view along with the presentation and a list of the questions that were asked during this session by our participants during this webinar. You can also share this training material with friends and colleagues who might find it useful. So today we're going to be talking about network discovery and classification. Let us take a look at the agenda for today. We will start by discussing the prerequisites for installing OpManager. Then we will talk about the various methods of device discovery, and we'll also talk about how to discover virtual as well as storage devices. Then we'll talk about certain important steps that can help you simplify this discovery process. And finally, we'll wind up the first of this 4-part training series by discussing about groups as well as sharing some tips and tricks on the best practices of network discovery. Let us begin. To understand network discovery and classification better, let us take a real-time network infrastructure as an example. Here we have the banking infrastructure. Let us assume that a particular bank decides to implement a network monitoring solution in their organization. They would like to monitor critical devices in their network, which includes servers, routers, switches, etc. While at the same time, they would also like to ignore the non-critical devices such as their employee workstations and private systems. Let us see how they can do it. The first step for any organization that wishes to implement a network monitoring infrastructure is to set up its network monitoring tool. In our case, it is ManageEngine OpManager. To install OpManager, you will need a physical or a virtual server. OpManager supports both Postgres as well as MS SQL databases. Postgres is offered bundled with the product. You also need 20 GB of hard disk space and a minimum of 4 GB of RAM. OpManager can be installed in both Windows as well as Linux systems. But please keep in mind that if you install OpManager on a Linux system, you will not be able to monitor Windows-based devices using the WMA credential. The reason being that WMA credentials are not supported in a Linux environment. However, they can be monitored using SNMP protocol. What we see on the screen are just the basic system requirements. For more in-detail system requirements, please visit the OpManager system requirements page from the URL that is provided at the bottom of the screen. You can also find videos about this on YouTube. Once you're done installing OpManager, the next important thing that a network admin must do is to gather a list of devices that are present in their network along with the credentials of those devices that they wish to monitor. The credentials enable a network monitoring tool to monitor a device by interacting with it by means of a particular protocol. Since OpManager is an agentless monitoring solution, getting the right credentials plays a very crucial role. OpManager supports a wide variety of network protocols, so your credentials can be added for various devices. And those credentials can either be of SNMP, WMI, Telnet, SSH, and you also have individual credentials for your VMware, Citrix, Nutanix, and storage devices. Let us assume that the banking scenario we discussed previously has around 50 routers, 40 switches, few printers, desktops, etc. The first step that we need to do is to identify all the different protocols for each of these devices and add their credentials and create a credential library. Let us take a look on how to do this in the product. To access the credentials, go to Settings, and under the Discovery tab, click on the Credentials option. Here you can see that I've already added a couple of credentials, and this list makes up my credential library. To add a new credential, click on Add Credentials, and you can see the various credentials that are available, the various protocols that you can choose from. I'm going with SNMP v1, v2. Here we are giving this profile a name. Let us name it Banking Devices, and I'm giving it a password and saving this setup. So here you can see that the newly added credential has been added to the Discovery credentials library setting. Once the credentials have been added in any medium or large enterprise, the number of devices, as we have seen, similar to our banking example, might be huge, and not every system admin will need access to every device. So the user management is a critical component of network management, and it is essential for ensuring the security of your network infrastructure. Based on your needs and privileges, you can create two types of account: an administrator account, which allows you access to all the management operation, or an operator account, which allows you to monitor only the data collected. You can also avoid the creation of individual accounts by syncing your AD or Active Directory installation with OpManager. And for enhanced security, OpManager also allows you to restrict the access to specific device based on particular users for particular business view. For example, if you create a particular user, you wish for him to have access to only those devices of a particular group, you can do that using OpManager. Let us see how this can be accomplished in the product. To access user settings, go to Settings, and under General Settings, click on User Management. Here you can see that I have two users that are already added. So I'm going to add a new user. So click on Add User, and here you can see that you have two roles to choose from, either the operator or the administrator. I'm going to go with administrator role, and I'm going to give the user a name. Let us name him Michael and give him a password. And let us give Michael an email ID. So this email ID, in case Michael forgets his password to this account, will be sent to this email ID. Click on Next and you'll go to the scope window where you can give access or restrict access of devices to Michael. So here I have created a business view for banking branch 1, which contains few devices. So Michael can only be able to access the devices that are in this business view called banking branch 1. I'm saving this setup. And here, the newly added user, Michael, will be present among the various users that can access my OpManager account. Let me just increase the zoom in case you're having difficulty viewing this. So moving on. Another important thing about OpManager user management policy is the password policy. Here you can see that the most important businesses today have complicated security password policies as advanced security measures. We felt it would be the best for you to implement the same. With OpManager, you can create complicated password policies to ensure maximum security. So for this, you can create password requirements, as in the minimum password length, the maximum password length, and various other factors that can help you to enable the admin or the operator to create a complex password. So the next step is discovery. Now that you have added all the credentials and created the users, it is time to start the discovery process. In OpManager, discovery can be performed automatically or manually. Automatic discovery happens by default after you install OpManager. OpManager, upon installation, will automatically scan the nmap of your network in which OpManager is installed and adds all the devices that it has detected. We also use AD to discover the neighboring servers, or you can do a manual discovery. OpManager has multiple methodologies to achieve manual discovery, which is conversely one of the strengths of OpManager. The various features include CSV import, IP range, CADR, etc. Let us see further on how these works. As I said earlier, OpManager's manual discovery protocol is an advanced and a very time-saving process. We have the following features to make discovery an interesting and simplified process. You can create discovery profiles and get reports out of them. You have discovery filters that can be added or that can be used to add or ignore certain devices when you're discovering them. We have rule creation process called the device rule engine. We have dedicated discovery for interfaces. You can also go ahead and update the property of existing devices. In order to help sysadmins avoid the hassle of inputting the configurations again and again every time they add a new device, OpManager has a feature called Discovery Profile. In Discovery Profile, you can choose between the wide range of discovery options available. As you can recall, the banking infrastructure had a specific requirement. They did not want to monitor their workstations and laptops because they rather have a close look on performance metrics of servers and other network devices. Also, eliminating network monitoring of unwanted devices is the best use of their license. So to ignore certain devices such as the desktops and workstations, OpManager uses a specific functionality called the discovery filter. Let us see how this process can be achieved in the product. So to go to discovery profile, click on settings, and under discovery, click on discovery profile. Setting up a discovery profile is a several step process. The first step is inputting the device details. As you can see, we have multiple options to begin the discovery process, such as device IP name, which is used to discover a single device. Here, you can input either the IP address of the single device or the device name. We also have CIDR, which is classless interdomain routing. We have CSV file import. If you have a list of devices or if you are planning to switch from a different networking monitoring tool to OpManager that allows saving the device list in a CSV format, OpManager allows you to import it here. We have a format for this to be followed. Click on the sample file to view the CSV format that the file needs to be in. To accommodate the requirements of a banking infrastructure, we are going to use IP range option of OpManager. Here you can input a starting IP and an end IP. Let us say we go for 192.168.186.10.1 to a range of 200 devices. And I'm adding this range. All the devices between the starting IP and the end IP will be discovered. You can also add multiple such ranges. So to avoid the workstations within the specified range from being discovering their devices such as desktop, let us use this add discovery filter option. So here we have two options to add or ignore devices. We are choosing the ignore devices and choosing the category equals desktop. So all the desktops that are detected between this range will be ignored. So I have added this filter option here, and I'm clicking next to proceed to the next step of discovery. Without discovery filter, you will have to manually remove all the desktops after the discovery process. Imagine the time and effort it would take. The next step following the discovery process's initial setting up is the credentials. We have already discussed credentials, and what you are looking at right now is the credential library that I have previously set up. So here you choose the credentials that are applicable for the device range that you have previously specified. So following credentials, the most important aspect of the discovery profile, however, is the rule engine. Rule engine is one of the key aspects that make discovery and monitoring devices a lot easier for the admin, because discovering devices is simply not about adding devices to your monitoring tool. It is also to ensure that they are equipped with the basic or fundamental monitoring capabilities. Let us see this with a use case example. The banking infrastructure here we have as a real-time example is trying to discover all the Windows 2012 R2 servers with a starting IP of 192.168.1.x. They want to monitor their login URL, which is given in the screen. This is an important URL for them to log in every day when they check into Office. Their second requirement is to associate a notification profile that automatically notifies the admin, Michael or Paul or anyone when there is a device downtime. Their third requirement is that they want to add these devices to a group called branch 1 servers. Lastly, they wanted to associate a Windows event log service which runs on all the servers so that they can capture the event logs and check whether the service is running or not. Now you imagine how long it would take for an admin to perform all these tasks. However, with Rule Engine, all of these requirements can be performed at once from a single window. Let us see how this process is done in the product. So as you can see, credential was the previous step of discovery process. The next one is Rule Engine. Here I'm creating a new rule. This rule engine can be added at any point of the discovery process. Let us create a new rule by naming it as banking servers. And to accommodate all the requests of the banking infrastructure, we start with the criteria. We set it to type equals the Windows 2012 R2 devices. So I'm adding this because this is the server that we need to identify. The second option is we are choosing an IP range. And we are selecting starts with option. And we are filling up their starting IP that they have provided, which is 192.168.1.x. So just leaving it like that. And we are adding this. Finally, to the action option, where the first thing that we're going to do is associate a Windows Service Monitor. And we are choosing an event log so that we can monitor the event logs generated in this service monitor. And the next one we're going to do is associate this to a notification profile. So I've already created a notification profile, so I'm just going ahead and choosing that. And following this, they wanted to monitor their login URL. So I'm choosing associate a login URL. And I've already selected this login URL, created a separate URL template. So I'm adding that here. And finally, we're going to add all these devices to a business view. So we're going to take branch 1, banking branch 1 as the group. We're adding it here, and we are saving the setup. So here you can see that the newly created rule has been listed in our list of discovery rules. So moving on. The next step to follow would be interface discovery. The next step of discovery profile is the discovering of interfaces, because you should understand that the problems might occur in the interfaces that carry data to all the devices. For this, it is important that you discover and monitor all the essential interfaces available in your network. Interface discovery is disabled by default. To enable, you have to enable interface discovery, and to monitor only the active devices, you have to choose admin and operational status as up. Finally, you can choose the type of interface that needs to be discovered. Let us see this in the product. So after rules, we arrive at the interface step. Here, as we said before, you have to enable the interface discovery, and I'm planning to monitor only the active devices, so I'm disabling all the other options. And the interface that I wanted to monitor is the Ethernet. I'm selecting that as well. I'm clicking next to add this to our setup. So the next step to take into consideration is the final stage of the discovery process. Here, OpManager allows you to schedule discovery once in a while. Discovery is not a one-time process, so every time you add new devices to your network, you do not have to manually trigger discovery. Instead, you can schedule the whole process to happen repeatedly, let's say once in a week or a month, etc., so that you do not have to worry when you add new devices to your network, since upon every scheduled operation, it automatically gets updated. Another aspect of discovery is reports. You can get the details of when, what, and who has added a devices or a lot of devices to your network. The inventory and audit report will greatly aid you in understanding the discovery process, thus gaining more control over your infrastructure. Let us check this in the product. So this is the last stage of the discovery process. So here we click on schedule, and we're giving it a name. Let us call it banking branch 1. And you can schedule it whenever you want. Here we're going with monthly, and we want it to be happening on, let us say, 10 a.m. every month on the 1st. We're choosing that, and following that, you can choose if new device is found, you can add and start monitoring it. So you click on next. So this setup has been saved, and here you have the option of typing an email ID to whom this report will be sent. All the devices that were discovered during this process will be sent to this person. So here we have Mikkel, who's responsible for this. And we are proceeding to save this setup. Here you can see all the changes that you have made. And once you're confirmed with all of them, you can click on save for this configuration change to be saved. So once the discovery profile has been scheduled and it has run successfully, you will be taken to the discovery reports option. So in this discovery report option, you can see when the last discovery profile was successfully run and which user has made this operation and how many devices were added and all the other information, etc. To get detailed reports on inventory and audits, you can go to reports. And after the discovery process is successfully completed and the devices are in, you can check on this. Go to reports and click on inventory and choose the device by category. Here you get a clear report on how many devices such as routers, switches, etc. have been added, and there are a couple other inventory reports as well. So to get a detailed report on any one of the components, click on them to get a detailed report. So I'm clicking on servers. Here you can find all the details about my servers. So to get an audit report, what you have to do is go to systems, and here you can find the audit report. So you can get an audit report on how many devices were added, and in case of device deletion, you can see them as well. So we also have a filter option based on module. Here I'm choosing the discovery module alone. So I'm unselecting all of them and just choosing the discovery module. Clicking on submit to save this. And here you can find the list of all the discovery related reports that have accumulated in this section. So following this, another important problem that every IT admin is facing is that when they update a particular configuration or make changes to a device physically, such as updating the IP address, RAM, upgrading the hard disk size, or changes in the interface property such as speed, etc., need to be reflected in the monitoring tool as well. So instead of manually identifying the changes and updating the monitoring tool, OpManager allows you to perform a rediscovery process for the devices and interfaces that are already discovered. Let us see how we can do this in the product. To do this, go to settings, and under discovery, go to discovery profile. And here you choose this option, existing devices. Once all the devices have been discovered, you can select devices and can select all the devices. And by following the steps, you can create a process, a workflow that is similar to the discovery profile, and you can schedule it to happen once in a month or a week or etc. This new information that is updated will be added to the device itself. So this is how you can update the properties of your device. OpManager can discover all type of devices from Windows to Linux, virtual devices, and storage devices. OpManager has a dedicated discovery process for virtual devices that support the discovery of VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and Nutanix. We have options where you can discover only the vCenter in the virtual part, and the other entities such as the host and the respective VMs will automatically be fetched. We also do support vCenter and ESX host based on discovery, because a couple of users we came across only had ESX host and they might not have vCenter. This is not an issue since we support both these formats. Let us see how this can be achieved in the product. To do this, you go to settings and you choose the virtualization discovery option. As mentioned earlier, we have a dedicated virtualization discovery tab. Here we're choosing choose between VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and Nutanix. These are the different virtual device environments that we have. And here you can choose between ESX and vCenter. So you enter a device name or an IP address and choose the credentials respective to that and click on next to proceed. And the devices once discovered will be listed under a dedicated virtualization tab. So you can click on virtualization and here you can find all the virtual devices listed. So I'm just opening a virtual device for you to have a look at. So this contains all the device information about the virtual devices. Here you click on virtual details and you can get info about the number of data centers, what are the clusters, hosts, what are the virtual machines inside the host. Such info will be automatically fetched. So talking about storage devices, OpManager allows you to discover and monitor storage devices such as RAID, tape library, and FC switches from multiple vendors like Dell, HP, Huawei, etc. We support discovery based on SNMP, CLI, SMI, and API credentials. So to take a look at this in the product, to add new storage devices, all you have to do is go to settings, and here in the discovery profile, you have a dedicated storage discovery option, add storage devices. You click that and follow the procedure, and you'll be having your first storage device to monitor. So the next, let us see about Nutanix Discovery. This is a newly added feature of OpManager. We discover only the cluster of Nutanix, and all the entities like VMs, their respective storage and host details would be fetched. You can configure the infrastructure diagram on how this Nutanix is spread across. what are the hosts connected to the clusters, what are the VMs connected to the host, and what are the storage device connections, which would automatically be drawn once Nutanix has been discovered. We also have dedicated report for this Nutanix. We use the Prism API as a framework to get the performance metrics from Nutanix. To see this in the product, you have to go to settings, and it is noteworthy that we have a dedicated Nutanix discovery process. So here you keep your Nutanix credentials ready and type a Nutanix device. Let us say we got our Nutanix devices goes by the name, this one, and you enter a Nutanix credential and you click on discovery, and the discovery process for this will begin. Let us say, for example, this banking infrastructure is expanding their branch, and you do not have much information about this newly constructed branch. They have few devices installed, but you are lacking the exact IP addresses. But what you, however, have is a core router information. The layer 2 discovery can be initiated with just the help of the core router, and OpManager will draw a detailed network diagram of all the devices connected to the seed router. You can set device dependencies automatically. The advantage of device dependencies is that it can prevent multiple alarms from getting triggered in case a parent device goes down. And layer 2 map is absolutely schedulable. It is similar to discovery profile in this regard. This ensures you stay updated about the new devices added to your network. The network diagram obtained by layer 2 map can be exported to other diagrammatic tools such as Microsoft Visio. For more information on that, click the link below. Let us see this in the product. So here you go to settings and go to discovery profile, and you have an option called layer 2 discovery. You click on this and you fill in all the required information such as the device name, the seed router information, and in case your device, your seed router comes from a network that is very large, you can just mention the starting and ending IP. So all the devices within only this IP range will be discovered. So multiple such ranges can be added. The discovery mechanism that allows you to discover layer 2 maps are CDP, LLDP IP route, FDB, and ARP. And you also have the option of scheduling. So here I have given 5, you can change it to 4. So what here happens is that once in 4 days, the layer 2 map will refresh itself, meaning it will find out all the newly added devices or removed devices and update this setup. Here uplink dependency option is available, which is the device dependency. So you can also choose all the credentials, or you can create new credentials by clicking here and click on discover to begin this process. So moving on, so far we have seen the exciting process of device discovery. Let us see how the device will look after being successfully discovered by OpManager. So let us have a quick look at the discovered devices. All the discovered devices are listed under the inventory, and they are classified by devices, interfaces, subnets, business use, etc. Here you can see that all the devices are listed. They can be classified based on category, type, vendor, etc. Now that you have discovered all your devices and viewed them in your inventory, you have the option to group them. So you can group devices based on some of the common factors that can be associated with the devices, such as site, department, vendor, category, etc. Grouping is beneficial, especially when you want to push configurations like device downtime or setting the threshold for interface, and even when fetching reports. Or in case you want to apply threshold settings to certain devices, you can put them in a custom group and apply this setting. Let us check this in the product. So to access your groups, go to inventory and click on groups. Here you can see that I already have created a couple of groups. So I'm going to create a new one. Click on add groups and mention a name. Banking servers 2, clicking on next. And here I have the option to choose devices. I can choose them according to a group, to a category such as devices, interfaces, etc. Or I can choose the devices, set option to manually, and I can manually handpick all the devices. So here the advantage of grouping is that instead of randomly selecting only the routers or switches and putting them into the group, you can select a mix of these bunches. You can select a few routers, few firewalls, etc., and put them in this group. And click on next. And this is an important part here. The group displays the health of all the devices that are categorized in this group. So you can either choose all the devices and an average of these devices will be displayed as the health of the group. Or if you have any core device in this group, you can select that device alone to be represented as its health. So here I've chosen the average of all the devices. So we have a tip and value add for you today. The entire discovery process that we have observed until now depends on one crucial factor, the accuracy and validity of the credentials. This you have provided in the first step itself, which is very important. So to ensure that your credentials do not expire, which is likely because a lot of IT companies follow strict password management policy, which will result in device credentials being valid for a short time. To overcome this, we have something called as test credential. So let us see that in the product. So to view that, go to settings. Should be familiar with this screen by now. And here we have test credentials. Here you can create your own profile. So to add a test credential, I've just selected, I would recommend you to select all the devices. So here I've selected only a bunch of devices. So I'm clicking on next here. So this will help you to test your credentials and schedule it to, let us say, once every week or once every month. That is totally your choice. And you can choose to get an alarm in case there are any device mismatches occurring. So here I've selected an option. So once this is done, you'll have a clear view of all your devices and the credentials associated to them. Ensure that your credentials are all passing this step to ensure smooth data collection. So when you are discovering the devices, some of you might have received this, the device being categorized as unknown. So what is this unknown and how do you fix this? It is very simple. So let me show you a sample. So we are going to inventory to look at some of the devices that are categorized as unknown. So normally devices would be categorized as unknown, but the category would be server or anything like that. But there are also cases where both the device type and the category and the vendor, everything is marked as unknown. So what does this mean? Why is this happening? There is only one explanation for this, which means the communication between the device and OpManager has been interrupted, and there are a lot of reasons why this can happen, which we are going to be seeing in this slide. So there are a couple of reasons, as I said earlier. So it could either be the firewall. The recommended port in your firewall should be open for the communication from the OpManager's installed server to the device that is being monitored. So check this link and make sure the ports specified in this link are open. The next is about the password. As I said earlier, the credentials that we are talking about should be made sure that the password of all the devices being monitored are up to date. If your organization has a, let's say, 90-day password reset policy, make sure the new passwords are updated here as well. Test the credentials periodically, and when a device fails the credential test, act on it immediately and update its credentials. Lastly, this could be because of the device template. This is a rare case scenario. So if in case your device is new to the market and if none of the device templates work on it, you can create your own device template. Let me show that to you in the product. So to access device templates, go to settings and under the configuration option, click on device template. So here you can see a list of all the device templates that are present. So if there are none of the device templates that matches your device, you can create your own custom device template. To do that, click on add template. And let us say you have the latest Cisco 4000 series routers. So here I'm giving it Cisco 4000 series router. So and the vendor name, I'm choosing it as Cisco. and the category is router. And following that, we arrive at the device identifier option. This is a unique series of numbers which help OpManager to identify that a particular device model belongs to a particular vendor and a particular category. So if you do not have this information, you can query the device that has been added to OpManager. Since the newly added device is marked as unknown, you can directly click on query and identify that device. Identify that, let us say this is the device that was marked as unknown, and you can select its credentials and you can query it. So that will fetch the device identifier, the sysoid details. If not, you also have the option to manually enter it. Let's say it is one dot. Let us say, for example, that this is the email, this is the device identifier ID. Click on that and click on add. It gets added. So now you save the setting, and when the next time discovery profile is scheduled, it runs automatically. This device that is marked as unknown will be categorized according to the newly created device template. I hope this session has been informative and it has been useful to the lot of you. We have come to the conclusion of part 1 of the 4-part training series. Following today, on 14th April, we will discuss the monitoring server performance, where we will delve in detail on the device availability, server and virtual server performance, custom WMA monitors, finally the script monitors. So our panelists have gathered a couple of commonly asked questions during this webinar, and we have included them in this presentation for you. So let us have a look at them. The first question is, I am an evaluator and I need help in choosing the right edition you have. So OpManager has 3 editions: the standard, the professional, and the enterprise. The professional edition is the most common feature preferred by many, as this edition has all the features that are offered by OpManager. The standard edition, on the other hand, you choose it if you do not want all the features offered by OpManager. And finally, the enterprise is for big vendors, where when you have distributed architecture, when you have multiple remote sites and you would like to monitor all of them, you can use the enterprise version. To know more about our licensing and how many editions that OpManager has, and to find out which one suits you better, click on the link that is given below and you will have detailed information on the same. The next question is, can I log into the router or switch terminal from OpManager? Yes, you can do that. So let me tell you how you can do that in the product. So let us say we have a device, a router, for example, and you access the router's inventory option. And here you have a dedicated icon that says terminal. You click on it to access the terminal. The next question is, after adding devices, will there be any impact if I remove the discovery profile? The answer to this is no. After adding the devices, if you remove the discovery profile, this will no longer impact your devices that were added. So the next question is there a limit on the license for interface discovery, and which protocol or credential is used for interface discovery? To answer this, there is no limit in license in OpManager for the license for the device interface monitoring. And the protocol that we use to monitor all the interfaces discovered in OpManager is SNMP. The next question, is there a way to manage a device through DNS name instead of IP, since we have a dynamically changing environment? Yes, this is possible. Let me tell you how this is done. So to do this, you go to settings, and under the monitoring option, you have monitoring settings. And here you have this option poll using. You select DNS and save the setup so that you can poll using DNS name instead of IP address. Next question, can we add a device using SNMP trap? Yes, OpManager allows you such a functionality, but to do that, you have to enable it first. And to enable it, you have to go to Discovery, Settings, Discovery, and choose Discovery Settings. And here you have an option that says Discover devices via trap. It is disabled by default. You have to enable this and save the setting for this configuration change to take effect. This marks the end of our session. All the videos that you have regarding OpManager and its training videos and other features will be put up on YouTube under YouTube/OpManager Tech Videos. And if you have any help regarding OpManager, you can access our help.opmanager website. And we have a dedicated forum where we discuss all the happenings. Here you can access that from forums.manageengine.com/opmanager. And you can reach us by mailing us on opmanager-support@manageengine.com. We're also available on the specified numbers below. So if you are interested in taking up a certification course to learn more about OpManager and how it can greatly benefit your network monitoring capabilities, you can take up the advanced certification course. More details about that is given on the link below. Hope you had a fun and an informative session. We're looking forward to seeing you on our next presentation on April 14th. Until then, thank you. Hope you have a great weekend ahead.